when I was in high school, for me, it was either cooking or getting into directing. For some reason, those were the two standout things that I wanted to do. And I had no idea how to get into directing, so I just went into cooking. So I am going to make a carrot crepe salad. So underneath the crepe itself, this carrot crepe, we take the milk out of the recipe, we add carrot juice, and then underneath that carrot crepe will be a stew of clams and carrot butter and carrots. So we'll drape the crepe over that little stew, and we'll top it with a carrot salad. For us, it was, we're only 3 cooks, but we want our food to be beautiful and tasty. So we knew that if we made this sauce of clams and carrots, that would be delicious. But that sauce is not pretty. So how do we take that sauce, use the 3 of us to plate something beautiful? So we just decided to cover up the sauce. Removing the milk and adding carrot juice to the crepe was something I learned about at Per Se. And then the sauce was something I did at the Alenia. And then the guy that does the sunflower sprouts, you can smell those sunflower sprouts from down the block when he's cutting them at Union Square. That guy I wouldn't have known about without Dan Barber. So it was just sort of a culmination of all of those work experiences. Both my parents, and my father specifically, really instilled this, if you're going to do something, just do it right. My father being a carpenter, and my takeaway from that, it was measure twice, cut once, to do things precisely and do them well.
We're making an octopus dish. I've always liked the aesthetic of it, so we wanted to play a little bit with memory, and my mom used to make octopus for special occasions. It's difficult to talk about Mexican food because there's regional foods in Mexico, and I think the same thing happens in the US. And usually food tends to get simplified when it travels, so you get a very limited amount of dishes from a region. What annoys me most is the lack of quality that people prefer Mexican food. For some strange reason, when people are cooking Mexican, they don't take care of the ingredients as much as if they were cooking something else. So they're not careful with the quality of the tomatoes for their salsa. They're not aware of cooking times for their proteins. They talk about tortillas like if they were made out of plastic. They just say corn or flour, but not which kind of corn. And I don't think there's good and bad cuisines, there's good and bad quality. Because a lot of Mexicans get annoyed at Tex-Mex. I think Tex-Mex could be fantastic if you perform it with good quality ingredients.
I was the world's pickiest eater. I gave my parents a lot of trouble. My mom was a really good cook, and I was the worst. My interest in cooking came much later, but it was mostly bound by the interest of kind of, learning about living in a new place. Tonight, I'm taking a little memory of having lived and worked in Japan, and so we're making a sashimi and rice bowl. We started by steaming rice and seasoning it with vinegar, sugar, salt. We are going to top that with a little bit of tamagoyaki, just a roasted Japanese omelet. This is the wasabi root, which we're going to grate and add a little spiciness. We have a turnip and a carrot, and they've only spent 4 or 5 days buried in the rice bran, which gives them a lightly acidic, interesting, earthy flavor. Both softens and then takes on a crunchy texture. Incredible. So we're going to shower those over the top of diced Montauk scallops, micro shiso, trout roe, Montauk striped bass, as well as Arctic char. And all of that will kind of, mix together, and people will enjoy eating and should make for a good party food. It's interesting, for all of the foods that I hated as a kid, there are almost no foods that I hate as an adult. People always get worked up when they're cooking around chefs or cooking for chefs. And when you're cooking for people in the restaurant business, there is no one more appreciative. And so when someone cooks something for me, my wife could burn toast, and I would just be very genuine in saying, "Thank you so much, honey, I love you."
Tonight, I'm doing peanut milk from State Bird Provisions. A lot of guests said that end of the cereal bowl, end of the milk and a little bit of cereal on the bottom, that kind of taste, and then people loves it. Also, I'm doing chocolate-filled dates with super vanilla bean ice cream with nocina. This is like a perfect little bites, like chocolate bites, and then like obscene amount of vanilla bean in ice cream, and you can actually taste the vanilla beans, and it's really, really nice. So we cut the dates in half, and then you stuff the ganache inside. And then after this, we're gonna put it in the oven for like 34 minutes, and then chocolate's like melting and oozing out, warm, and then a scoop of ice cream next to it.
Right behind her, something like that. How'd you do this?
I was born in a small town called Ehime in Japan. I know it's funny, but my dad loved Bob Dylan, and I grew up listening to Bob Dylan so much. And then I remember I really wanted to understand what he's saying without reading a booklet, like a translation, and then like I really wanted to understand what he's saying. That was the like major thing for me to come to the United States.
In terms of talking about the diversity of our kitchens, we recognize that our teams are better when there are a number of voices who all share a common goal, but push and pull in many different directions. My job as a chef is to make sure that we explore those ideas, that we welcome them, that we challenge them, and ultimately that I make sure that they kind of keep us headed in the direction that feels right, that tastes right for our kitchen.